Alrighty, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Serving Nerve, where we talk about whatever we want, and today we're going to be going through fat acceptance, body positivity, cringe on TikTok, yeah that's right. So today we're going to be checking out CHUB rub clothing, and we're just going to see what this content has to offer, what we can add regarding the commentary in the cesspool that is the internet, and yeah. Without further ado, let's just get into this. Starting off, fat's not a bad word. So, it's kind of ironic. I do hear a lot of people back and forth in the fat acceptance, body positivity movement saying, oh, fat should be banned, it's a horrible word, it should never be used to refer to somebody. And then other people in the same movement try to take that word, kind of like, refangle it. In fact, use it more so because they don't want that word to have power over them. If I have to pick between these two kinds of conversations pertaining to word usage, like the word fat being good or bad, not using it or using it, I personally think that people should use it however they want to use it. It's just a word, doesn't hold power over you, and it is your responsibility as an adult to not worry about what people say to you, think of you, or what you think of yourself, I guess, in this context, although I would be worried about health in regards to fat. See, fat isn't a bad word, but being excessively overweight to a point of obesity and morbid obesity, especially morbid obesity categorically, can be a big problem, particularly for joint issues, metabolic disorders, etc. So fat in that regard can be a bad thing if you have too much. Now, saying that again, like a lot of people use fat as both a descriptor for a physical appearance and also a thing for a type of body tissue. So I don't know, I'm just spielio-dealioing and rambling. But the thing I'm trying to say is if you don't want to use it, don't use it. If you want to use it, use it. And it's good, bad, whatever you want. It's completely subjective and needs to be applied with more context regarding whatever you think is so bad or good about it. So, okay, I have to point out, you can't be fit, like physically fit, if you're morbidly obese. I really don't agree with that. I've been in a lot of different, body sizes throughout my life. I've been obese, not excessively, but I've been still categorically obese. I've also been overweight. I've been a normal weight. I've been underweight. I've been all over the weight spectrum in that regard. And even when obese, I still had a harder time doing things like cardio. Even if I was doing cardio consistently, I still had a harder time doing cardio when you're like 130, 140 pounds versus 160 to 70 pounds. It's a big difference there. You're lugging around an extra 20, 30 pounds. And I can't imagine what it would be like if I'm carrying around maybe 10 times that amount, 200 pounds, 100 pounds, 300 pounds, whatever amount. You're just not going to be able to do it efficiently. I just don't think it's possible for somebody who's like 300, 400, 500 pounds to be any bit fit. I think you're going to be struggling. Like, your heart's going to be struggling, your body's going to be struggling. Every party is basically going to be struggling. So I just don't think you can be fit. You can still, exercise, and exercise is good for you, but I just don't think you can be fit. Personally, I really disagree with people using Ozempic to lose weight, unless it's like such a severe situation that they need it or they're gonna die. Like, if somebody's like 600 pounds, they're being put on Ozempic, they're medically monitored, that's their choice. And that's a doctor's choice as well. I get it. Personally, I don't think Ozempic is the number one weight loss tool that everybody needs. I think the better option is to eat healthily and exercise. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of subjective, but I think it's better being a little subjective here than saying that people should be taking, drugs in order to lose weight. So, I don't know. F all that bariatric. Yeah, I mean, bariatric surgery, again, like some of these things are a little bit more risky. It's not going to cost you more to, cut out eating junk food and soda pop and start going for walks more and eat more fruits and vegetables. It's really not going to cost you much, and it's not even going to be that big of a deal in comparison to something like going on Ozempic or getting bariatric surgeries, going under the knife for it. And also, the costs, I think, are significantly less so in a financial regard. A lot of these people that actually are obese aren't these, dweebs online. They aren't the Amberlyn Reeds of the world where they make their money on YouTube. And I'm not trying to make excuses for those people, but I think the average person who's obese thinks it's cheaper and probably, you know, more effective for them to just go with getting McDonald's or fast food. They're used to drinking soda, so they'll drink soda. It's still cheaper than, you know, eating a salad or whatever the excuses are. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But the point is, like, these people who are, like, singing about this, like, these people, they probably make some money. They probably have people paying for their stuff, you know? They're acting like they've got enough to buy out all these, like, weird, gross outfits and strip on camera. And you know what? Like, you can come for me and say that my thoughts and my, you know, more conservative or reserve values, my more, you know, I don't know, not wanting every woman to be naked practically on camera as a form of empowerment are rude or discriminant or, I don't know, just pinheaded or whatever. But to me, I feel like somebody sitting in front of a camera, having a conversation, even doing a dance on camera or whatever, whilst wearing clothing, it's probably better than them dressing up like this and, yeah, getting basically naked on camera for views, clicks, and thinking it's hot. That's the thing, is like, I think these women actually either have no confidence to where they just do these weird, crazy things to act like they think they're hot, or they actually think they're hot. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I need to be more into, like, weird, kinky fetishes and, you know, fat women to understand whatever this is. You know, this is the other thing I take issue with, is whenever I see these people online, I don't think that they're a problem, and I don't really think that, like, in spite of me making a video talking about the subject matter, that they're, like, offending me, or they're a big problem in society, or whatever, like, you know, somebody who's fat, I guess. And also, they don't need to justify to me their existences in any capacity, and I don't think that's the expectation. I think the actual issue is these are the people that have the problem with feeling judged by society. Maybe they dealt with God knows what to perpetuate them to act this way, but I think it's actually these people that are trying to justify their existences, you know, scream to the rooftops that they deserve to exist and that they're not a problem and that you're the problem, you, the person judging them, even though they obviously have probably some sort of insecurity about being judged before they even put this content out. I don't think these people are the problem. I think they have a problem with themselves, and that's why they have to act this way in order to somehow, like, cope with their existences. Oh no, it's your daily reminder that fat women are beautiful. You know what? The thing about this that I'm seeing so far is all these chicks that I'm watching online when it comes to them being fat, it's not that them being fat is the most unattractive thing, you know? Like, in spite of it not being healthy, it's not the most unattractive thing. Like, you know, if I go out on the street and I see a chick like this walking down the street, but probably dressed slightly more, like wearing a shirt, some pants, some shorts, whatever. Something, you know, just a little bit enough to cover up the main zone, you know? I probably really wouldn't look at her any different than anybody else. But the real thing that really catches my eye is the fact that, you know, in this image, you've got chest exposed, cleavage exposed, back exposed, stomach exposed, side exposed, fat roll exposed through the side because you're not even looking like you're wearing underwear, booty cheek exposed, thigh exposed, and I know that you can't see the screen, but going down there's also leg exposed, and you know, she's also covered in tattoos, has flashy earrings, dyed her hair. I mean, there's more to this than you just being fat. You know, I don't actually think somebody who's fat is inherently ugly. It's very subjective. But my personal bias is a lot of these girls, for some reason, that go online and they just decide that since they're fat, they should really go all out and, like, basically wear nothing on camera, act like hoes. And when I say that, I'm not calling them hoes. They literally, in their videos, tag themselves with, like, hoe culture, you know, rocking that body like a sick hoe. Like, in these videos, they act almost like they want to be treated like, you know, hoes because that's hot, that's cool, but in reality, like, that's like the most high school perspective you could possibly have, is that the hot slut is cool. I think the most beautiful people out there are the people who are confident in their flesh without having to proclaim such. You know, the people that are out there wearing reasonable wears and, you know, not having to worry every 10 seconds about slapping on makeup, exposing their body, dressing all out and ripping everything off, slapping it on and slapping it out. Like, I don't know, man. That's just my perspective. I know I've got that bias there, but god damn, dude. Like, it just doesn't look right, and it doesn't act right, and it doesn't feel right.
Oh no, it's your daily reminder that fat women are beautiful.
Me while skinny babes compare me to Brandy Melville in my comments because I won't make clothes their size. One, I have no idea who Brandy Melville is and I don't care. But two, the thing I have to point out is no matter who you are, if you have a certain line of clothing, let's say you're a size 00, or say you're a 5XL, and you have a clothing company that only accommodates for certain sizes. Like if you're Twiggy and you're super skinny and whatever, and you want to be able to model dresses that are super duper skinny dresses that do not fit more than a small, and small is what's considered your large, I don't think you should worry about ever making a medium, a large, an XL, whatever. Now, the problem with that is you are going to be cutting out a certain market of people that might want to buy your clothing, but you also have a specialized way of, dispersing your goods. You have a certain style, you have a certain size, and it is what it is. Same thing goes for the plus size clothing. I don't think plus size clothing companies should have to give out smalls, mediums, larges. I don't think they should. In fact, if you want to start at XXL, you should be able to, and you shouldn't be judged for it. It's your decision as a manufacturer, as a clothing seller, whatever. The only thing I'm going to say again is that it's probably not effective on a financial basis because you accommodating for these markets might not, make you money in comparison to appealing to all the markets, like the average sizes, small, medium, large, whatever. Say you want to do super small or super big pieces of clothing, you might not make as many sales because people might not, buy them as much or whatever. You might not have enough volume to buy them. Come with me to get my knuckles tattooed. I've wanted this tattoo for a long time. Growing up as a fat and super tall woman, being tough was a constant necessity. Okay, well, I don't really get that. I guess, there's this really interesting perspective I have because I'm really short. When it comes to tall women, bypassing everything else, tall women, I always think I'm like, oh, it's like a much more confident thing. You have more reach, you have more superiority. You're able to, be taller than other people. Really tall women, I would imagine, are significantly more, like intimidating in stature, and therefore they look tougher and they should be more confident. But I have realized recently, talking to some people that are very tall and also seeing a lot of the conversation about being tall, is that for women, ironically, being tall is actually like a big confidence, downgrade. Like, tall women are insecure about their height, which is really interesting. I guess it's hard to wear heels if you are a tall woman because you're gonna loom over anybody that you're with. But I guess this would also depend on the height. Like, what is considered tall? I would consider somebody as a woman being tall, anything at like 5'7". To me, that comes off as pretty tall, but I don't know. The thing is, if you're short, guys, I think will think of you as more cute, more adorable. Like, for males, it's ironically, obviously, like, different. You want to be taller, you don't want to be shorter, so whatever. But it's really interesting. I just find that conversation really interesting because I always assumed otherwise. But getting to this, growing up as a fat and super tall woman, being tough was a constant necessity. I feel like if you weren't fat and you weren't tall and you were just more normal, you'd still have something you have to deal with, when it comes to like bullying, I guess. I don't know. Sarah's gentle hand was a perfect match for the feeling behind this project, alright? She took the time to carefully place every element, making sure they fit my tough meets soft aesthetic. This juxtaposition is a reminder that I'm allowed to be vulnerable as long, I can't read, and strong at the same time. God, that took so much work to read. I'm so dumb. Anyways, some people were also commenting that, like, oh, we can't believe you can't sit and, like, not eat while you're, like, getting these tattoos done. I've never gotten a tattoo done. I imagine that some of them, depending on the complexity and the size, could take multiple hours to 10 hours. Like, I don't know. I would imagine this kind of tattooing would take maybe a couple hours. I'm not too sure. So I don't know why you'd need to eat a snack, but whatever. This is like a weird thing that they were commenting on, and then there was another video that popped up that talked about it, and I was like, alright, whatever, I don't care. But the story is that, yeah, she's eating Cheetos. What do you guys think about Cheetos? Because if I have to have a Cheeto, I prefer the not puffed Cheeto, like the hard Cheetos, the stiff Cheetos. But I also, like, when I've had Cheetos, I found them kind of tasteless. So I bet hot Cheetos are amazing. I haven't had them, though. I really don't eat Cheetos. I really wouldn't know. The only chips I eat are, like, Siete chips, lesser evil popcorn, and sometimes, like, pretzels or something. So I really haven't had, like, a conventional chip in a while. I guess the last thing I probably had was a Dorito. We are all allowed to be multifaceted, complicated individuals. I don't understand this weird world where everybody's so obsessed with, like, you know, we're all allowed to do all these things. We're allowed to have brains. We're allowed to, you know, be complicated. Like, I'm like, bro, like, everybody is. I don't understand. I know I'm being, like, kind of a twat and I'm, like, nitpicking, but whenever I deal with people like this, it's, like, this weird world where it's, like, yeah, like, the world, like, we're allowed to, you know, like, face the world and be weird and complicated. And, like, even if the world doesn't accept us, like, we still are as we are and should be confident. And it's, like, the reality is nobody gives a fuck. Literally nobody gives a fuck. Most people are so self-focused and so absorbed in their own lives and their own antics that you could do literally like 100 things around a person they probably wouldn't realize unless it pertained particularly to them. You know, people are always worried about being judged. It's so weird that so many people are so self-conscious and have to weirdly present themselves as something when in reality the world just doesn't care. The hands say stay soft, and I find that kind of ironic. But I don't know what to say. I mean, you do you. Get all the tattoos you want, you know. I'm not the one paying for it, so I don't give a shit. But, yeah, I don't know how to think about these kinds of people, these, chub rub clothing people. To me, they're kind of cringe. It's all about, like, this whole self-acceptance baloney. I just don't understand why this all has to be on TikTok and you have to present yourself. It's probably, like, a marketing gimmick or something so they can sell clothes or make money or something, or maybe to just like shill themselves out and shake their butts on camera and then they get people like in their DMs or something. I really don't fucking know, bro. I don't understand. I'm trying to, but I just don't understand what the overall purpose to this is unless it's to feed the endless ego. Like, I don't understand. I really don't think that also people should be worried about accepting themselves on the basis of being fat or having to combat people bullying them or looking down on them. You know, like, I'm not trying to be dramatic when I say this. Like, I think that people should just be confident in themselves, and the presentation of confidence doesn't require that you put it on TikTok or make a video about it. It requires that you just live your life. Like, you don't have to present such to crowds of people. You don't have to make videos talking about how you're confident. You just are confident, whether it's by your word, your look, your demeanor, whatever, your personality, I don't know, a good bead you can give, like whatever it is. You don't need to present such. You don't need to twerk on camera to show that you're good in bed. You just are good in bed and you impress. It's like that kind of vibe. That's my personal perspective when it comes to these kinds of things, and that's one reason why I'm really not a fan, and one reason why I really have to call out, I really do not approve when women like don't wear a lot of clothing and they're obsessed with doing all these other extra things to themselves, but more so they don't like wear clothing and they're like on camera and they're shaking their asses for the camera. Like, I've said this multiple times in my videos. I just do not approve. That's just my own personal opinion. I know that I have my biases out there, so by all means, tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And what do you think about all of this? What do you think about these lovely ladies over here? And yeah, that's the video. So I hope y'all enjoyed, my people, and I'll see you all next time. It has been lovely. Slater.